And we welcome everyone into another edition of Back Your Play with Q. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quiñones, and we are coming at you live every Saturday, Sunday on NY48 WWON. And of course, joining us during the NFL season, our very good friend, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football and Sports Radio 1029 FM The Game, the aforementioned Lloyd Vance, as we are creeping into, well, we're already into November, as we like to call it. Business decisions await some of these teams and players, but week 11 in the NFL starts off. Obviously, when we air this, we still want to kind of give that preview of that Thursday night matchup. We'll get into the Jets and the Pats in a moment, but my friend, how are you?
Doing great, man. We're starting to see the contenders really step forward, Q.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the theme of where we're going today, obviously with the lines and whatnot, but you're starting to see some teams that may be a little bit in flux and starting to separate some of these other teams. Always a reminder, back your plays for entertainment purposes only. Gambling promo 1-800-GAMBLER. And we are powered by our wonderful friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Don't forget BYP20. That'll get you 20% off your first purchase. You guys have been fantastic with the engagement on social media and the YouTube channel, and of course the audio version of BYP. As always, follow Lloyd on X at Lloyd Vance, myself at Rich Q on Q, and of course on IG and X, TikTok Rich Q on the mic. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. With that, we dive into week 11 already in the NFL, a Thursday night affair, which could have the makings of a snooze fest. The Jets, all of a sudden, the new look Jets winning a couple games here and there, 2-7, 1-2 on the road, taking on their AFC East rival. The Pats are, an 8-2 mark. You look at it and you say, what is this, Brady and Belichick? But nonetheless, the Patriots are laying a whopping 14 to 14 and a half tonight, with the total 43 and a half points. And look, I will say this: don't be blinded by the Jets beating two of the teams from Cincinnati. But I'll tell you, man, this is just a very I think this has the makings of being an ugly game.
Well, Q, you got to give the Jets their props, man. They're on a two-week heater. They're on a 2-game winning streak, which gives you a little bit of hope. The big thing is this game's got to be better than the last Thursday night football game, where it was 10-7, and that was just awful. Watch Denver and the Raiders. So we'll just see how this turns out, Q. I think Breece Hall is going to play a lot in this game for the Jets. He's going to try to be a key. The Jets actually played pretty well, even though they got rid of 2 of their players in terms of trades, but McDonald played very well for him last week, and he had 4 sacks, so maybe he can get some pressure. But it's all about Drake May. He's playing extremely well. 19 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. I think he will continue to play well. Travion Henderson had 2 long touchdown runs last week. He'll be in the mix. And then defensively, Milton Williams and that group on that side for Mike Vrabel have been doing a nice job. So I expect the Patriots to win that one, but that is a big number to cover. You always got to be careful of that, but I'll go with the Patriots in this one.
You mentioned Drake May playing at an MVP level. His numbers are off the charts, and you see that second-year progression. Now, flip side of that, under center for the Jets, I think this is it for Justin Fields. I mean, you don't like to say it, but this is kind of the reality of the NFL. It is a what have you done for me lately? And the fact that, you look on the surface, well, he's played in 8 games. He's thrown 6 touchdown passes, 1 picks. He just had 1 pick. He just has not played well this season. And, his best game is after the owner basically came out and lambasted him for throwing for 46 odd yards against Carolina. And then he bounces back with a touchdown and 244 in the wild one against Cincinnati. But I think right now, playing out the string, Justin Fields, to me, I think at this point, it's pretty clear that he's playing for his career, and he's got to have a good showing and showings moving forward. And look, I understand, you get banged up from time to time. That's life in the NFL. But man, I'm telling you right now, he's got to get it going, because he might be out of football at the age of 26.
Yeah, we'll see. He could be the next Trey Lance, Q, where he bounces around and gets another opportunity, because he does have that first-round pedigree. But as you're saying, it's just been a struggle for him in terms of his passing consistency. Yes, he's been able to run the football, but I think Malgi as well as Woody Johnson, the owner there, are going to be looking for a new quarterback this offseason. Uh, let's face it, Aaron Glenn knows that he's not the future in terms of Justin Fields at the quarterback position. They're probably going to go in the draft. That's why they have all that draft capital.
Yeah.
For the next two draft classes, there's going to be some good quarterbacks coming out.
All right, Sunday slate. We start 9:30 in the morning. How about this? A little España, Madrid, Spain, the Commanders and the Dolphins. Sorry, my Spanish brother, and we give you this slop. But hey, just go enjoy it. Miami's laying 2.5. I don't know if Miami's, you know, uh, overconfident, right? Because they had that big win. They really dominated the Buffalo Bills. And, it's probably too little too late, but it's a very winnable game as the Commanders, a very big winnable game against the Saints, very winnable game against the Jets. Now, if they go on a little run and get to 6-7, it makes things absolutely interesting when they take on the Saints on the road in December. But here's a spot where you know how I feel about these international games. Never have a feel. Washington's banged up. It's been a down season. Obviously, my NFC representative in this season's and this year's Super Bowl, it's not going to hit the Washington Commanders. Sorry, guys. But they are getting 3 in this one. The total is 47.5.
Yes, Q, and it's two struggling teams. Let's face it, Q, and it's at different levels. We did not expect Washington to be here, but this is where they are. Lattimore's hurt. McCaffrey's not going to play in this one for him, and Jane Daniels, obviously the big piece with that elbow injury, he's not going to play, and they're going to take a little while to bring him back. Also, defensively, Deron Payne suspended for this game. They're not going to have him as well. A lot of missing pieces for Washington. They may start planning for next season as well, but Miami, they may have found something when they got rid of Chris Greer. Maybe he was a problem at general manager. It seems like McDaniels kind of dialed up the playbook, and two was kind of buying into it. The big piece, though, is Chen. He played so well last week. They're going to try to get the ball to him early and often. And then the defense kind of holding on against Marcus Mariota. So I expect Miami to win this one and cover the number.
A lot of these 1 o'clock games are right around 2.5 to 5.5, aside from two of them. The Panthers and the Falcons. Panthers, you can't figure them out. The Falcons, you can't figure them out. They're looking at another, 9-10 loss campaign. The Panthers, they're a funny little bird, are they not? Because they're 5-5. They had the big win against the Packers, and then they come back and they basically no show offensively against the Saints. And they had a little bit of a run, winning 3 straight 4 or 5 earlier in the season after they had that 40-8 debacle against the Bills. They responded, as I mentioned, with the big win against the Packers. But this is a team that I think is still void of some talent in certain spots. They are getting 4 on the road against the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, this is a tough game to figure out, Q, because as you said, you just don't know which team's going to show up for either side. And the quarterback play has been pretty spotty. And Bryce Young, he's kind of regressed, Q. And it's a situation where they better lean on Rico Dowdle. Their running back has played so well for them. They'll probably feed him the ball, try to get it to technical and on some play action. And then on the other side, the Falcons have to get Bijan Robinson going. He has not hit pay dirt recently in terms of getting in the end zone. Drake London playing very well for them. I expect Michael Penix to make some plays in this game. And then defensively, Bates and those guys will probably get Young to make some mistakes, and it'll turn on a turnover. So I'll go with Atlanta since they're the home team in this one, and I'll look for them to cover the number.
Yeah, this is my look, but don't touch. I don't like either team because I just don't have a feel. If anything, I would play maybe shade towards the total 41.5, the under. Tampa Bay and the Bills, good matchup on paper. Both teams looking to rebound. Both teams had poor outings. New England beats Tampa, and then as we mentioned, Miami all over Buffalo. Buffalo's got some issues. Now, I want to ask you a couple things. It's been a down season for Josh Allen, especially when we saw what he was able to do last year. Now, there shouldn't be panic with Bills Mafia. They're 6-3, 4-1 at home, and they're laying 3.5. I'm sorry, 5.5 against Tampa, but they can't stop the run, and that would be a concern. And I thought they were going to be able to run it a little bit last week. Remember, the one play that I really liked last week was James Cook over 83 rushing yards. He had like 40 at the half and finished with 53. Go figure. But let me ask you, do you see issues with Buffalo right now? And is there enough time for them to right the ship?
Well, it's tough, Q, because Josh Allen's just he's out there by himself, and sometimes he makes mistakes, and it's tough to overcome them. That tush push, and then he fumbled it. That kind of turned that game last week, and he needs some of these other weapons other than Cook to step up. Whether it's his healthy tight end, Coleman, and that receiving group that they just have not been making plays. So the offensive line is kind of average, other than Dawkins, and they have to help him up front. So yeah, there's some they were my Super Bowl favorite, and much like you were saying earlier, like, man, I just don't think they're going to get to that level. Right now, at the playoff start today, they're in the sixth seed. They're looking firmly up at the Patriots, who don't seem to be taking their foot off the gas. So, yeah, they should worry about where they're going to be heading into the playoffs, and not having that defense healthy, particularly Ed Oliver's out on that defensive line. That's a big factor for them.
Yeah, those are good points. And like I said, they just figure out, that you can't always just have Allen back there slinging it and hope your defense makes a play or two. It just doesn't work like that in the NFL. And the other point you brought up, Patriots aren't losing, so that run of winning the AFC's titles might come to an end, just like Kansas City in the AFC West. We'll get to that in a moment. Texans and the Titans. The Titans, they're a bad football team. Are still looking for a head coach. They're 0-4 at home. They are getting close to 6 points, 6.5 in this one. And the Texans, again, here's a team they started 0-3, then they're 2-3, then they had that bad loss against Seattle, then they beat the 49ers. I mean, again, you can't figure this team out. They're down 19 in the fourth, and they pull off the shocker against a very overrated Jacksonville squad. It's just, again, 4-5. You're looking up and you're trying to catch Indianapolis, and it's just really about a numbers game right now. And I just think the Texans are going to be on the outside looking in.
This is another prove it game. There's several of them this weekend, Q, and you think, wow, against a one-win team, it's a prove it game. But it is for Houston Texans because they need to find that consistency. Not sure if C.J. Stroud's going to play in this one. He's still recovering from concussion from a couple weeks ago. Davis Mills actually played pretty well last week, as you were saying, and he's kind of connecting with Nico Collins, making some big plays down the field. Woody Marks running the football. And then defensively is their calling card. And D'Amico Ryans, his group up front is one of the best in the National Football League. Anderson, Hunter getting a lot of heat, and then Stingley getting some turnovers in the back. So I expect the Texans to come out here, take care of business. It's a road game. You always got to beware of the home dog. But I think the Tennessee Titans are planning for next season. So Houston wins this one, and they cover that number.
Now, they've been playing for next season since week one, right? So, again, this edition of Back Your Play with Q, Rich Quiñones here. We're powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, 20% off your first purchase. Check the show notes, affiliate link, BYP20 for all the unbelievable loyal listeners of the show. Lloyd Vance joins me, as he always does during the season as well, on BYP and, of course, on Q. All right, the Bears and the Vikings. Bears 6-3, came from behind, beat my Giants on the road. It tells you what the betting public thinks of the Bears because they're a 2.5, 3-point dog on the road against the Vikings. The total is 48.5. I don't know if the Vikings are looking around saying, maybe we don't have our quarterback. I mean, I'm not talking about Carson Wentz on the IR. I'm not talking about Brosmer on the depth chart. I'm talking about J.J. McCarthy, who's questionable in this one. So think about that for a minute. So right now he practiced in limited fashion Wednesday with that right hand. Obviously, if he can't go, you go to the emergency quarterback. And this changes the line tremendously. And when we air this on the weekends, we record on a Thursday. So think about this. I mean, here's a game you have to watch to see if the line moves, because if the Bears are favored in this game, then you obviously that McCarthy come game time is not going to be available.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, Q. And you still got to give McCarthy a little bit more time because let's face it, he's only started 4 games in the National Football League due to injuries, and he's still basically a rookie. So you're not sure what you're getting from him. The Vikings, they're going to try to get their defense going first and foremost with Brian Flores in terms of that group back there, Van Ginkel and some of their other playmakers, Dallas Turner, and try to get some mistakes out of Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams played well the last couple of weeks, though. The Bears are on a 2-game winning streak. They're able to run the football. Roma Dunzier getting that connection with him. So this is a game I've been back and forth on. If McCarthy plays, I'll go with that premise. I'm going to go with Minnesota as a home team. I'm not buying into the Bears because they're very inconsistent. Now, they did get a big piece in C.J. Gardner-Johnson coming over playing for them. He did play very well last week with double-digit tackles and forcing some turnovers.
Well, you always talk about the revenge game. They saw the Vikings the first game of the season. Obviously, Wentz was starting 27-24. They lost. They gave up 52 to the Lions, and they won four straight. They hung in there until the Ravens kind of pulled away, but they did beat Cincinnati. They came from behind to win that game, and they came from behind to beat a bad Giants team. I'm starting to believe in Caleb Williams. I'm starting to come around a little bit. I think this kid's starting to take a little more initiative. I think he's starting to have a little more pocket awareness and presence. And maybe, look, he might not be that quarterback that is going to throw for 300 something odd yards a game, but he also might be that quarterback that's right around 260, 265, a rushing touchdown, passing touchdowns. His numbers are good. He hasn't thrown a pick in 2 weeks. And I just think if you got ball security and they can run the football, I think they're going to be okay. They got some weapons too, right? I mean, they got some really nice weapons in the backfield, and they can go running back by committee if they want to. I mean, obviously, it's not bad when you have a veteran in Swift, but then they have this other kid, Manange, who's been running the ball hard. I like the Bears in this one on the money line. I think the Bears beat them outright.
Yeah, it's a prove it game, and for them, we talk about that consistency that they need to get. But Ben Johnson's definitely taken hold of his team, and they are starting to believe in their system. So, which team's going to step up? And Chicago, as you said, number 6 seed right now. The playoffs started. This is a big spot for Caleb Williams, that group.
All right. As you see me kind of crack the neck because the stress is starting to settle in as we get set for the Giants, who decide, why not? Let's throw out crab legs. Jameis Winston, give it a whirl. We don't care if you throw 5 picks. He might throw for 500. He might throw for 200, but it's going to be entertaining. The Packers coming off that bad loss to the Eagles. The offense did nothing. Now, this is a get-right game for them, especially with their offense and the criticism that LaFleur's taken, the criticism that Jordan Love has taken over the last several days. They're laying 7.5 on the road against a bad Giants team who, oh, by the way, will play the game with a new head coach, Mike Kafka, the interim head coach, after they fired Brian Daboll. So you have a lot of moving parts in this one, right? And this might kind of be one of these games where it's fun to watch Jameis Winston. He's going to be rusty, and maybe he's going to sling it all over the place to God knows who, right? Robinson and Johnson, I think they're going to bring up Isaiah Rodgers off the practice squad, or they just sign him off some team's practice squad. I don't know. But listen, I think this is your get-right game for Green Bay, and I think they're going to run the ball against the Giants. I think Love's legs are going to make some plays in this one. That stadium is going to be overrun by Packers fans. This is a bad spot for the Giants. I don't like them in this game. I like Green Bay in the points.
Yeah, Q, the Packers are desperate. They're coming in here after 2 straight losses. You talk about that Monday night football debacle with the Eagles, a defensive battle, but they just could not move the football at all. And I do agree with you that this is their chance to kind of beat up on a Giants team that just fired their coach. They're kind of wounded. But you always got to be aware of that interim coach in this first game. Sometimes we've seen teams get a jump out of that, but with Jameis Winston starting, I at this stage in his career, I just don't know how much he's going to be able to do. I think the Packers come in there. They're try to get Jones running the football despite the injuries they have on their offensive line. And then defensively, look for Micah Parsons and Gary to get some heat on Jameis Winston, who we know can throw interceptions. So I'm going to go with the Packers in this one. That is kind of a big number. I think if you're going to play it, go with the Giants, but go with the Packers in terms of the money line.
Well, I mean, listen, you're not throwing Russell Wilson out there. And Jackson Dart obviously concussed, so he's not going to be available. Different game if he's playing. The Packers should still be at least a 2.5, 3-point favorite. But I'd rather see Jameis Winston, who I told you I wanted to see him start over Russell Wilson to start the season, to the chagrin of a lot of Giant fans. He's not afraid to throw the football. I mean, that's just the bottom line. He'll let it rip. It was almost like watching Taylor when Jones was hurt. Jones didn't want to throw it late with the Giants. Taylor had no problem throwing the football. Offensively for the Green Bay Packers, now there's some whispers that LaFleur is kind of coaching for his his job. They're 5-3-1. I don't know if that's a reach. I don't know if that's a knee jerk reaction, but offensively, they're just really out of sync. I mean, they're really out of sync, and I'm really starting to believe that Jordan Love is not a franchise quarterback because franchise quarterbacks make certain throws. And aside from going on the road and they ran all over Dallas in that playoff game a couple years ago, I really haven't seen much from Green Bay and Jordan Love. Now, again, maybe it's a knee jerk reaction. Maybe I'm being way too critical. I'm looking at this kid and I'm starting to say, okay, you threw for 32 touchdowns, 11 picks a couple seasons ago. You got banged up last year, and this year you're struggling mightily. Now, granted, he's only thrown 3 picks, but it's the throws and the plays he's not making. To me, that's alarming.
Yes, Q, it's a situation where he's got to play a full 60 minutes. We've seen spurts from him, the second half against the Steelers where he was so spectacular. They now have a new chairman in Ed Policy. They don't have an owner there since there's shares involved, but they have a new chairman in there, and he's looking at everything. So Gutekunst, the general manager, and LaFleur, the head coach, even Love, who they gave that big stench to, they're evaluating everything going into this offseason. So big spot for them. They got to find a consistency. And Love, as you said, he has to find a consistency. Look for him to try to get the ball to Christian Watson, who's now healthy.
By the way, just to go back to that Texans game, D'Amico Ryans has officially ruled out CJ Stroud. So he's going to miss his second week with a concussion. So there's a line you might want to watch to see about the fluidity and the change in that line. But listen, you got very good production last week from a backup quarterback. So I don't like the Giants in this game at all. I like the Packers. I think they win this game hands down. I think this game's a laugher come the fourth quarter. Cincinnati on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cincinnati, a lot of injuries, obviously dealing with Joe Burrow. Um, he's set to potentially return in December. The Steelers, such an enigma, 5-4, 3-2 at home, laying 5.5. Aaron Rodgers looks like he got old overnight. Their offense did absolutely nothing in a 25-10 loss. I told you, I've never been a fan of the Steelers. I'm not a fan of Aaron Rodgers. I think this team coming into the season was going to be labeled a fraud. I think it was going to be smoke and mirrors. And as crazy as this sounds, I actually think Cincinnati can not only cover this game, but I think Cincinnati can win this game outright.
Wow, this is a tough one for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Another prove it game we're talking about here because they look terrible on Sunday Night Football against the Chargers. They just the offensive line was not blocking well. Aaron Rodgers looking every bit of a guy who's going to be 42 soon. That sack slash safety in the end zone was just terrible, where you just saw he was not moving. They're not running the ball the way they need to be, and DK Metcalf is not getting the big catches that you thought coming in the season. So the Steelers have got to find a way to move the football on that Bengals defense that's very beat up, particularly Hendrickson's not playing in this game. They traded one of their better linebackers to the Dallas Cowboys. So this is a chance for the Steelers to be at home. I expect Highsmith and TJ Watt to have a big game in this one, pressure their quarterback and to make some mistakes. So I'm going to go with the Steelers and have them cover a number here.
We talked in the offseason about the kid Shamar Stewart, who was the 17th overall pick in last April's draft. He's only played 5 games. He was holding out. This guy has just right now, I mean, it doesn't look like he's playing. I think Zach Taylor mentioned that he's week to week because of that knee injury. But man, you talk about a potential bust in a draft pick. I mean, they drafted this kid to shore up a lagging defense, and it just has not panned out.
It has not, Q. In their defense, they brought Al Golden in there to try to fix this thing. He came over from Notre Dame, and it just not worked. That teams are moving the ball at will on them. Just think about the Jets a couple weeks ago scored 39 points on them. So I expect the Steelers to kind of get right in this one, but it's a situation where Aaron Rodgers, at his age, you just don't know what you're going to get from him.
That's exactly it. I think they're gonna blitz, and you're gonna get a couple turnovers here. Last 1 o'clock game Chargers against Jacksonville. Jacksonville, as we mentioned, blew that 19-point lead, fourth quarter lead against the Texans. They've got some injuries. Trevor Lawrence doesn't look to be that guy. I'm sorry. I'm kind of over Trevor Lawrence too. And then you got the Chargers, Justin Herbert. They are 7-3. Had the humbling loss to the Colts. They've ripped off 3 straight, but they really haven't beaten anyone. They beat the Vikings, the Titans, and then the Steelers. Now they go on the road against Jacksonville. As you said, you got Denver, and then you got Kansas City. Kansas City faltering a little bit. Denver trying to run away with the AFC West. If this is a game where we say, okay, Chargers, show us who you really are, go out and win the game, and then basically kind of solidify that playoff spot.
Yeah, it's a chance for Justin Herbert and his offense to kind of see if they can play, outside the comforts of their dome stadium, and he's going to need to drive the football down the field. The Vidal's played pretty well for them out of the backfield. They're going to need to get a good effort from him. Johnston and Allen, they're going to need to hold on to the football, and I think Gat's going to play for them at the tight end position. So the Chargers should be able to move this ball on the Jags defense, but the Jags defense is opportunistic with Devin Lloyd and those guys back there. So he's got to be careful. Lawrence, as you were saying, he just does not look like the guy, Q. Number 1 overall pick, and they gave him all that money, but he is not in the upper echelon of quarterbacks. So I expect Chargers to win this one. It's probably going to be a close game, field goal type of game. I'll go with the Chargers to cover that 2.5.
All right, midway through this edition of Back Your Play with Q. Don't forget, tune in every Saturday and Sunday, 11 to 12 p.m. on NY48 WWON. Rich Quiñones here. Lloyd Vance, kind enough to join us. We are powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, 20% off the first purchase. BYP20 in the show notes. Winter's right around the corner, so definitely check out Fresh Roasted Coffee and get yourself some good coffee cake cups. And you can get all the different types of blends and flavors, and again, some savings courtesy of BYP. Midway through, we'll take a look at the 4 o'clock and, of course, the late games as well, Sunday and Monday Night Football. Quick timeout. We will come back on the other side midway through this edition of Back Your Play. All right, midway through this edition of Back Your Play with Q, Rich Quiñones here. Lloyd Vance, kind enough to join us, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on SR 1029 FM The Game. Follow him on X at Lloyd Vance. As I mentioned, we are coming at you on channel 48, NY48 WWON. Give them a follow on social media as well. 1 o'clock games in the books. Let's look at these 4 o'clock games. Last week in the 4 o'clock games were brutal. You had all the winning teams score 40 or more. It was not a marquee. The witching hour was non-existent because we knew wins were not going to become losses and losses were going to become wins. 405 San Fran on the road, laying 2.5 against the Cardinals. We talked a little bit about Kyler Murray and his future going forward. Brissett's going to get the start again. Murray's pretty much shut down for the season. 49ers, they are a team that has dealt with a substantial amount of injuries. And, you got to give credit. Mac Jones hanging in there, journeyman, 27 years of age, had some good moments. He's played relatively well, 13 touchdowns and 6 picks. I mean, they would love to have Purdy back there healthy and ready to go. I know that Shanahan said limited but aggressive participant, and the intention is he's going to start Sunday's game at Arizona. So if you're going to pick a game for him to kind of start and knock off the rust, I think Arizona would be this game. But I also believe the 49ers, this is a critical stretch, Lloyd, for the 49ers, right? Because they're trying to maintain pace in a stacked NFC West. But, starting Purdy right now probably not the worst decision because they've got the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Browns, the Titans. Those are all winnable games to get them to 10 wins.
Correct. And then they have their bye right after that. So this is a big opportunity for them. Don't forget it's a divisional matchup in the NFC West. So these teams beat up on each other. But I expect the Niners to come out and make a statement. So they'll probably have Purdy back. They'll probably have Pearsall back on offense. McCaffrey's been carrying the load, but they'll get him his touches. And for the Cardinals, let's face it, you have Sweat on the other side who's doing a nice job for them, and Collins and Buda Baker, but there's just not a lot of teeth on that defense. So I expect the Niners to move the football on them. Robert Saleh's defense for the Niners, though, they've got to get Jacoby Brissett off the spot, get him to make some turnovers. Big thing is Marvin Harrison is not going to play in this game. He had an appendectomy. He's not going to play, so Wilson's going to have to carry the load for the Cardinals. I expect the Niners to get some turnovers and win this one. Pinero probably on a field goal, so I'll go with the Niners to cover the number there.
Yeah, I'm comfortable laying 3 with the 49ers on the road. Ravens and the Browns, again, got to keep giving you credit when you come on the air. You said the Ravens were going to go on a run. They're trying to get a healthy squad back. It's kind of been a situation where, Lamar Jackson kind of hit or miss. Now all of a sudden showing up in the injury report, they are optimistic he's going to play. I don't think they're going to need him against the Browns. They should be able to run the football. Browns defense better, obviously, than their offense. But to me, I thought maybe this would be the game where you would see Shedeur Sanders get a start for the Cleveland Browns, because that's pretty much all that's left right now for Cleveland. They're 2-7. They're a bad football team. Berry and Stefanski might be out. Baltimore's laying 8 in this one. The total's 39.5. Gabriel's going to get the start under center once more for Cleveland, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I think the Ravens just absolutely blow the doors off Cleveland. Now, I said that last week, Buffalo and Miami. So again, if we want to go reverse mush, take the Browns, but I'm gonna go with the Ravens in this one.
In this situation, Q, where last week the Ravens were a big favorite, and they kind of started slow against the Vikings, and then they finally got it together. Lamar Jackson's definitely going to play in this game, and he started getting the ball to Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews at tight end position. The offensive line's kind of been solidified with Linderbaum and Stanley up front, and then you have obviously Derrick Henry running the football downhill. Their defense, it seems to be back under Zach Orr. They've held opponents under 19 points the last 3 games, all wins. So this is their opportunity to do it again. Gabriel, let's face it, he does not have arm strength to compete at the NFL level, and we'll see what he can do. They do have Junkins in the backfield, but I do expect the Ravens to win this one big. The key, obviously, is they got to block Myles Garrett, make sure that he's not going to change it. Surprisingly, I will say the Ravens cover that big number.
The issue in Cleveland, what's the reason that Sanders is not getting any reps? What's the reason he's not getting an opportunity right now where it's pretty clear that Gabriel's not the answer?
Yeah, Q, I think there may be some infighting within that organization in terms of who picked him and whether they're going to play him or not. I think the owner, Jim Haslam, was involved in picking of him, and Barry may not have been on the same page. Stefanski may not be on the same page. And let's face it, Gabriel he's an amicable guy. They like him. He's a leadership type player, but he's not getting it done on terms on the field. Their chances of winning are not very well with him. So why not give Shedeur Sanders an opportunity? But we'll see how this plays out going into the offseason. Stefanski may be working his way out of a job, though.
Well, I take him as an offensive coordinator, to be quite honest with you. For the Giants, I would take LaFleur too as a head coach. Chiefs, Broncos, buckle up. Nance Romo, 425. Here's your prove it game for Denver. Kansas City on the road, 5-4 overall, 1-3 on the road. They're laying 4. That tells you the betting public still does not believe in Denver, and they're going by the fact that KC's KC, as long as they've got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So to me, this is more Patrick Mahomes under center, laying 3.5. I'm a little surprised by this line. I have Denver not only winning the AFC West, I have them winning the AFC. I have them winning the Super Bowl. So they need to show me something. If we're really going to take them serious, then I got to see something from their offense. Their defense can carry them, but man, their offense has been bad.
Yes, Q. They need to prove it on Sunday because this is a big divisional battle. Sure, Denver right now is the number 2 seed in the AFC, but a lot of people, as you said, question marks on them. 7 straight wins, but a lot of them been ugly, kind of sloppy. And you're not going to have J.K. Dobbins in this game with that foot injury. And Bo Nix has got to step it up. Last week struggled to get the ball to Cortland Sutton, did not have a lot of catches. We'll see what Harvey can do in this one. But on the Kansas City side, Q, you have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes coming off a bye. So, Andy Reid off a bye. He has that time to get ready. He's well prepared. I think his winning percentage off a bye in his career is like 80% or more. So I expect Chiefs to be ready to go in this one. Kareem Hunt should probably run the football effectively. Mahomes, he may struggle though with that defense. That defense for Denver under Vance Joseph, they have 46 sacks to lead the National Football League, and they get after people. So I expect close game. I'll say it's going to be a push there. I say Kansas City wins it on a field goal. So they're not going to cover that 3.5, but I expect them to win this one and kind of keep taking steps forward.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas City, I still think there's a possibility they're on the outside looking in, which was one of my bold predictions with Denver winning the AFC West. But I'm looking at Sean Payton and Bo Nix, and I'm seeing regression there. And their defense is only going to be able to help them so much, right? I mean, eventually you have to have a semblance of an offense a little bit. That kind of worries me. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt at home against Kansas City. If they win this game, then yeah, they should. They're going to win the AFC West.
Yes, we'll stamp them legit if they can take care of business here, but everything's leaning towards the Chiefs in this one. It's going to be a fun one to watch.
I think it might be, obviously the game of the weekend, which again now leads us to Sunday Night Football. Detroit and the Eagles. Detroit, they've just been ransacking teams. The Philadelphia Eagles, an ugly win. Offensively, they've got major issues. Obviously, it starts and ends with A.J. Brown. They're at home, 2.5. They're going to friggin' force feed them the football. Total is 46.5. I told you, the Lions to me are a team like the Rams. They are a team like oh, and by the way, we skipped over that game. I'm sorry. So let's get into that game. Pardon me. I think we totally skipped over. We'll get to the Eagles in a second. I'm glad I said the Rams because we skipped over arguably one of the best games in the NFC. 405. Sorry, BYP fans. Seattle and the Rams. Thank you very much. The Rams laying 3.5. Let me give a little love to the Rams. Let me give some love to Slinging Sammy Darnold and Seattle. Here we go. Battle of 7-2. Oh my goodness. I would have got hammered with comments if we missed that one.
Yeah, this is a marquee matchup, Q. You got 2 7-2 teams, two teams really playing at a high level, divisional game. And the thing is with Seattle, they have that two-headed monster back there, and their defense is getting turnovers and taking them to the house. You saw DeMarcus Lawrence take 2 fumble recoveries to the house last week, and it's going to be interesting to see is Sam Darnold ready to face, Fisk and Verse and that Rams defense and can get after you. So been back and forth on this game, but Matthew Stafford is playing at an MVP type level at 37 years of age. Q. I mean, he's one of the leaders in touchdowns and yardage, and he's getting the ball out of his hands. Puka Nacua should be healthy in this one, and you cannot forget about Devontae Adams. I think the Rams win this one. Very close win for them. The number's 3.5. I don't think they cover that. They probably went on a field goal. They have their new kicker. Everything seems to be right with them. So McVay had him playing on high level. I'll go with the Rams in this one.
Stafford, 2,400 yards, 24-27, 25 touchdowns, 2 picks. Right now, MVP. Darnold playing exceptional football. They have so many weapons at his disposal. JSN, absolutely a monster, whatever, 1,000 yards of receiving already, 63 caught balls, 5 touchdowns. Man, I'll tell you, Seattle's defense is really good. And I'm going to make a bold prediction in this one. I think they frustrate Stafford. I'm actually going to take Seattle on the road with the points in this one.
Yeah, that's not a crazy pick, Q. I think it's going to be a good competitive game, and a big factor is going to be the Rams in terms of their discipline. They had no penalties last week, no turnovers, and if they can do that again, they'll probably win.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to, and again, I apologize for that, the Sunday night affair. So mentioned a little bit on the Lions. The Eagles offensively have been struggling. Obviously, A.J. Brown going on Twitch, talking about, the season is a shit show, this, that, the other thing. not getting his catches, his receptions, his targets, his stats. Listen, I think they're wasting AJ Brown's prime. I think this squarely falls on Kevin Patullo. I think this falls on Nick Sirianni. There has been a disconnect since that game, talking about that fourth down play. Was it an audible by Hurts? Sirianni kind of barking back at the media. I knew exactly what was going to be called. Um, this is what happens, though, when you have an all pro wide receiver. And let's just be honest, again, every wide receiver is a diva wide receiver, especially an all pro wide receiver. Philadelphia Eagles need AJ Brown to make this offense hum, because it's not, Westbrook out in the flat, bail out Donovan, Barkley out in the flat, spin and pick up 41 yards, and there you go, right? I mean, so offensively, what are you seeing that would give you, pregnant pause for concern with the Philadelphia Eagles?
Joe, it's the consistency. And, you know, they're able to get the ball and make some plays when it matters, and they're winning football games. They're on this little mini win streak of 3 games, but it's just that consistency they had last year that you're just not seeing. The offensive line is kind of beat up. They did get Dickerson back, but Jurgens is probably not going to play in this one at center position, and the whole operation just seems to be off rhythm. So Saquon Barkley's not running the football the way he was last year. And then you're talking about the situation where they're getting the ball to Smith in good key spots, but Brown is just not happy. And last week, 2 catches on 3 targets for 13 yards. That's just not going to get done. They got to find ways to get him the football and not forget about Goddard. So a lot of weapons for them. They did get a big pickup with Phillips. That defense had a lot of teeth last week, but yes, the offense is struggling.
It's just amazing to have those types of weapons and that quarterback and an all world running back, solid tight ends, very good wide receivers, and an offensive line, one of the best still in football, and not be able to muster some offense and generate points and consistent drives. I mean, the one thing that I think, if you're an Eagles fan, that concerns you come playoff time is the inability to sustain drives. And you have to be able to do that in the postseason. And this is a team 3-and-out, 3-and-out, 3-and-out. I mean, that fourth down call, I really didn't have a problem with the decision to go for it. I had a problem on the call, the play design, and obviously the execution was poor. And if the Packers call timeout on their 4th-and-1, maybe the game changes a little bit because they had to rush it. But be that as it may, this is more or less about the Eagles' offense. And then conversely, too, if you look at the numbers defensively, the Eagles have been able to force turnovers in the past and get to the quarterback. They have not really been able to do that this season, at least consistently.
Correct. And Sweat has a ton of sacks, and he left, and the defensive line has just not been the same. Now, they did get Nolan Smith back last week. He started making some plays, and I talked about Jalen Phillips and what an impact he had. He didn't have any sacks, but he had a lot of pressures for them. Brandon Graham back as well. They're just trying to find anything to get that pressure, and then that'll lead to some turnovers. But it's going to be an interesting game because Detroit, they proved last week they can come outdoors and win a tough physical game in Washington, and Goff was playing well. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the key in this game. Can the Eagles contain him? Because he ran wild last week. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he'll probably get 12-plus targets in this game. So then back and forth in this one. I think the Eagles win it because they're the home team, and it may come down to the field goal. So they'll probably cover that low 2.5 number. But it's going to be a close game, and they can't start slow like they did last week and expect to win.
I like the Lions. I really do. I think the Lions are going to go in Philadelphia. I think right now their offense is humming. Yeah, you stub your toe against Minnesota. I get it. Okay. But they put up 34 against Cleveland, 38 against Baltimore, 37 against Cincinnati. Tough road on game on the road against Kansas City. They put up 44 against the Commanders. We talk about, Stafford is an MVP. Well, Jared Goff quietly has put together another strong season. I mean, he's got 20 touchdown passes, 3 picks, 74% completion percentage. That's unheard of, with an average of 8.2 yards a pass attempt. I mean, I pulled up his numbers, man. He had Fisher never wanted to play him, right? And then he had the nice season in 2018, came back down to reality in 2019, put up a lot of yards, but a lot of picks. Same thing in 2020. And now he's on a run of one, two, three out of his last four seasons, 4,500 or more yards passing. And right now he's on pace for right around 4,000 and 30 something odd touchdowns. He's playing really, really well. And I feel as though every time we talk about top 10 quarterbacks, we always omit him.
Yeah, Rodney Dangerfield quarterbacks, no respect, man. And the thing is, he has some great weapons too around him that he can lean on. Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the best receivers. Jamison Williams looking like a solid number two. Laporta at the tight end position. We'll see about Penei Sewell playing this week, but he's one of the best tackles in the game. So, yeah, I expect him to play well, and the Eagles. This just seems like a way that they'll find a way to win. You know, Q, they've just been finding ways to win these ugly games. 5-1 in one score games this season, so I think they'll find a way to maybe get a turnover, special teams, big play, something like that to win this
But
one.
but does it a win is great, but is it just masking, what's going on right now? Like if they win the game 20-16 and they it's four field goals in the game, it's the same nonsense with the offense. Like that's what I've tried to convey on the air, and a lot of a lot of fans they don't want to really have that conversation with me.
Correct, Q. And with Patullo taking over this offense and Sirianni still being there, something's amiss with this group. Every year is different, and they're the hunted now, and they're the champs, and they're winning these games. But it's like, yeah, but and you're waiting for the playoffs or something like that, where you're like, oh, that's who they really are, because they have been finding ways to win, but that luck's going to run out. It's a lot like last year with the Chiefs. We saw that coming. What happened in the Super Bowl where they were winning these games, these close one-score games, and then it just kind of fell apart in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Eagles can right the ship. But all this infighting and team player only meetings, it shows that there's chaos around this organization.
You think Kevin Patullo can be one and done?
Yes, Q. That Brian Johnson a couple of years ago on the offensive line, Sean Desai on the defensive side, we saw that with the Eagles already do that. So Jeffrey Lurie will evaluate the whole operation, him and Howie Roseman, the GM, and they'll see what's going on. But Sirianni's not going anywhere, and Patullo could be the fall guy. They may need to bring somebody in from the outside that can get the best out of Hurts, because let's face it, they kind of just slid him over without talking to a lot of different candidates.
All right, and then sorry for Monday Night Football, Cowboys and the Raiders. Buckle up, 3.5. The Cowboys are laying. I mean, some people might be happy if this Disney and YouTube thing is not resolved. You don't have to subject yourself to that crap. Two very bad football teams. By the way, Colts and Saints have byes this week, so there you have it. 8:15 Monday Night Football. The Raiders and the Star going at it in Vegas. Dallas laying 3.5.
Well, expect some points, Q. The over-under is 49.5. And Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, they love feasting on an inferior opponent. I expect Dallas to put up a lot of yards, a lot of points in this one. Maybe Aubrey hits that 70-yard field goal everybody's waiting for. And Dallas seems to get right. They're going to have all their shiny new toys that they got in the draft, in the trades, Quentin Williams and the rest of the guys. So we'll see what they do, but I do expect Dallas to win this one and cover that 3.5 number.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we get some really good games, and then we get some stinkers. And the primetime games have been Some of these games have been snooze fest. Any player prop or kind of a bold take betting wise stands out for you this weekend as we are approaching week 11?
Sure. I think a big one, Q, is I was talking about earlier. Amon-Ra St. Brown is just killing it in terms of targets. So expect him to get more than 10 targets in the game against Philadelphia Eagles. They've been feeding him the ball early and often in this one. I also like Rico Dowdell for Carolina Panthers going over 80 yards in this game rushing against the Atlanta Falcons. And watch for Micah Parsons in terms of sacks. I think his over under in terms of sacks
He's
against the
so he's
Giants.
so he's so overrated.
Yeah, well, I think the number is 1.5, so I expect him to get that against
I
them.
mean, is
And
this
then the
guy going
Giants,
on?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this guy going on X talking about, shutting down Saquon. Dude, make a freaking play that changes the complexion of a game, man. I mean, what's really bad is that you've got Abdul Carter that won at Lawrence Taylor's number, and he hasn't done jack, right? Then you got a player, Micah Parsons, that's supposed to be this all-world Hall of Fame All-Pro, and he hasn't done jack. Like, when was the last time he actually changed a game?
Well, in Arizona, he did save their bacon against him, but he has been very inconsistent, just like the rest of the Packers. And it hasn't been the impact that everybody thought. Remember when they made that trade? They're like, "Oh, put him in the Super Bowl." Well, guess what? They've struggled. Halfley's defense has been up and down, and actually, Gary on the other side has outplayed him.
Yeah, I don't know. I know we got a couple minutes before I let you get out of here. I mentioned this the other day on the air. These young quarterbacks, right? We're waiting to see who's going to take those next jumps, leaps, and bounds. But if you had your choice of a quarterback or two or three, young quarterback right now that you would want to build a franchise around, who would it be?
Ooh, that's a great question. Lamar's still pretty young, but I won't choose him. But the way Drake May's playing at this point, Q, he seems to be taking that step forward as that second year quarterback, and and we know there were a lot of quarterbacks taken last year. Very efficient in terms of the football. 72%, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and he's playing well within his system. You really like to see the Patriots get him another weapon. Diggs is getting a little old at his age, and they need another receiver. I mean, they got Mac Hollins and Booty out there, so they don't have many other guys. But yeah, Drake May, he's a leader in the clubhouse right now in terms of the young quarterbacks. And like you were saying earlier, Caleb Williams, it's surprising, how well he's played recently. And he seems to be buying into Ben Johnson's system. So put
Well,
him up
that's it.
there.
Not to
Yeah.
cut you off, Lloyd, but that's exactly it. Like they they we thought they were going to fire Ryan Poles. They didn't. They fired the head coach for this kid's second season, new offensive scheme, bringing a right guy who's a good offensive mind, and now he's flourishing, which kind of, again, crushes the theory that just because you fire a head coach in a quarterback's rookie season or after the quarterback's rookie season, it doesn't always need or meant to be a detriment.
No, and you have to have that quarterback whisperer. You got to have somebody that's there, can work with the young quarterback and teach him and develop him. And, you know, Patriots doing the same thing. You have McDaniels coming in there, a guy who's worked with a lot of different quarterbacks, and he's really working well with Drake May, putting him in good positions. And yeah, Caleb Williams is learning a lot from Ben Johnson, and he's excelling. And conversely, when you talk about young quarterbacks, look at Michael Penix. It doesn't seem like him and Zach Robinson are on the same page down with the Atlanta Falcons, and they may need to make a change in terms of their offensive coordinator.
Well, I mentioned that Justin Fields playing over his career. Trey Lance is just a journeyman lost, right? Anthony Richardson. I mean, you know, if Daniel Jones plays well and they make the playoffs or win a division, he's going to cash in again and he's going to be the starter. Now, I know everyone's waiting for the other shoe to drop with Nichols, right? But he's given him such a boost. And if you're Indianapolis, you can't waste Taylor's season. I mean, he's having a Hall of Fame season right now, a career year. Arguably, you can say, he is the best back in the NFL right now, as long as he stays healthy. Put him in the MVP conversation. But Anthony Richardson is going to be a quarterback that's lost in the sauce. Like, he might be that now, jettison quarterback where a team might look at him and take it on as a reclamation project, which further proves my point that it's got to be the talent evaluation in the NFL. It's piss poor.
It's tough, Q, because like Anthony Richardson, he played about 15 games or less in college, and there's misevaluation. I think a lot of times they go to the combine, they get enamored by the way the guy throws the football and he runs, all the events. And that was with Anthony Richardson. He was a tremendous athlete, but college football is easy. A lot of times you can run around, make plays, out athlete people, receivers that can jump up and get 50-50 balls, but the windows are tighter in the National Football League. And these guys got to be coached. And some of them are not ready in terms of they force them on the field, Q, and they probably should sit for like 2 to 3 years learning before they get on the field. So tough situation for these young guys, but they're getting their money, and they're expected to be a pro.
Um, that is correct. I mean, they are getting paid a lot of money. All right, fast approaching that 60-minute mark as we're starting to wrap it up. Don't forget, you can check us out every Saturday and Sunday 11 to 12 p.m. NY48 WWON, and you see the lower third graphic right there on IG at NY48 WWON-TV. Stream on a budget. Give Lloyd a follow on X at Lloyd Vance. You can catch him, Lloyd Vance's Insider Football, every Monday. I know sometimes he floats around a little bit, but 8 to 9. And of course, you grab him and you can check him out right here on BYP. And of course, during the week with me on Q, we want you all to get social with us as always. You guys have been fantastic with the downloads on Amazon, Apple, Spotify, Podchaser, Podcaster, you name it. These guys have been unbelievable with it. As a week 11 is among us, as we always like to say, Mr. Lloyd Vance, if you say it, you play it. And if you back it,
you're going to stack it.
you're going to stack it. That's right. That is absolutely right. So there you have it. Another edition of BYP in the books. Appreciate my good friend Lloyd Vance for jumping on board for a couple minutes. Brother, enjoy the games. Put a little coin in the pocket, and we will do it again next week, my friend. Thank you.
All right, Q. Thanks for having me on.
There you have it. My guy, Lloyd Vance. Don't forget to give him a follow on all social media platforms at Lloyd Vance. He's also going to join me on a Football Friday edition of On Q. As a reminder, before we get out of here, check out NY48WWO, and you can get social with me on TikTok, Rich Kona Mike. We've got 2 new episodes of Overseas Dimes, our Hoops podcast, dropping on Channel 82 in Bermuda. We'll be live Monday to Friday on Q as well on X, on the YouTube channel. We got a couple other platforms that we're going to be banging out. But as we echo it, and as Lloyd reiterated it, if you play it, you got to say it, right? Because if you say it, you better damn well play it. And if you back it, you're going to stack it. So week 11 is among us in the NFL. The picks, the plays, the prop bets, all for entertainment purposes only. Gambling problem, 1-800-GAMBLER. We will talk to you guys next week on another edition of Back Your Play. And again, as always, we are very thankful to be powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Check them out. Promo code BYP20, BYP20 in the affiliate notes. You can check out all the different flavors and products they have, and you'll save 20% off your first purchase. And again, don't forget Monday to Friday, 4 to 6 on the YouTube channel on Q with myself, Rich Quiñones, Overseas Dimes, which airs on Channel 82 on the weekends in Bermuda. And then, of course, BYP right here on Sports 48 WWON. All right, week 11, wish you guys the best of luck. And again, have fun. Have that bankroll ready to go. Don't bet over your head. Be smart. And again, if you ever have any issues, gambling problems, just remember 1-800-GAMBLER. So enjoy the slate of games. You got college football, you got the NBA as well, you got the NHL. We'll recap everything on a Monday edition of On Q, 4 to 6. Appreciate our good friend Lloyd Vance jumping on board as he always does. And just want to remind everyone that one last time, if you say it, play it. And if you back it, you're going to stack it. All right. Good luck, week 11, which is among us. We'll talk to you next time on this edition of Back Your Play with Q. As always, be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, buen día.